Yes, finally. All right. Building your list and what you need to know about buying leads. Hello, everyone. My name is Tessa. I'm the Director of Marketing at IdeaPros. And I have Joel Buhr, who is, did I say your last name right?
You did. Yeah,
Buhr?
close enough.
Okay,
It's always, yeah.
great. That's perfect. All right. So Joel is actually with First Direct. He's a president over there, but they call him their Chief Data Disruptor. We're talking about lists and how to build your lists and buying leads in particular. I know you guys have a lot of questions about this topic. So we're going to go ahead and have you guys, we're going to engage with you and have you on answering some questions with us. So before we dive in, we're going to have you pick an industry, right, Joel? We're going to say pick some business and put it in the chat. We're going to use an illustration for today's show. So obviously there's a couple different types of businesses that you could say, real estate agent, or in the case of most of our people watching, it's a product, a specific product or an app. So I know that those will come up, but let's say, whatever you guys can think of, put one company or industry in the chat and we might use it in our illustration momentarily. But really the big question that people have when it comes to buying lists, there's a couple. Construction, that's a good one. Mark Morris said construction industry.
There you go.
That might be a really good example for us to run with. But one of the biggest questions that people have is, how do we start? Where do we even start with building a list when you're buying leads?
Right, and that's a good question. It's oftentimes, where when they say, "Hey, where do I start?" they start asking the question of, "Well, what kind of data is available?"
Yeah.
And that usually can become a very complicated one. The reality is the simple explanation. There's a lot of data that's available. So that kind of simplifies it real quickly. But the real question should that be asked.
You want.
Pretty much. There's a lot of different ways to really, a lot of people when we go into as far as what's and go live on a mountain, and obviously they're not going to. However, at the same time, the real good question to ask is, what problem do we want to solve? So each business, exactly, a list for marketing. And so each business, you really just want to kind of say, what's my objective? What problem are we solving? Am I doing brand awareness? Am I doing customer acquisition? Or am I doing outbound calls? What's the intent here? And so very intentional on the focus as far as what are you doing? Who do you want to get a hold of and why? And what are you going to offer them? And then what's the follow through steps of how you need to communicate with them? So those are all important questions to kind of consider as you look for, well, what type of a list do I need? Because that list can change its shape pretty quickly.
Perfect. So like you said, we're going to use one of these example ones. So we have a lot of ideas from people on the side here. So we had construction or roadside service. That's really interesting. Or supplements. Let's see. But if any of those feel like something you want to dive off on for us to chat more about, the idea is that when you're building your list, to a lot of our partners and our target audience, they know their target audience. They know who they're trying to get the product in the hands of. They know their unique positioning statement and the problem that they solve, because we nail that down. I mean, that's what all great marketing campaigns have to have. Mm-hmm. So let's say they know the demographics of their target audience, and they know that they want to. I mean, even thinking about this, you actually do so much more than just a mailing list. So not just direct mail, you guys can do email marketing or funnel development, and you guys actually offer it through your company.
Right.
I mean, obviously we have resources for our partners too, but you actually help them to get that delivery type too.
Right. The full intent there is because a lot of times clients will come to us because they want the list. But then what they are missing is the pieces in between to execute on it. And so the execution on it is a relatively easy piece of the puzzle. It's that audience that's usually the challenge, but it's oftentimes the one thing that's thought of last. And somebody goes into it, they're like, I'm gonna plan on doing an email campaign, but they haven't really identified their data. So identifying your list and realizing, hey, how do I need to execute my marketing on this? you're going to need a website. Nowadays, you just simply you need the website. You need landing pages. You need funnels. You need those things to execute and to convert traffic that's going to come to you. But understanding how or the best method to execute on that list is going to be a critical component too for someone to ask themselves.
Right. And I'm just going to show your screen because that's one of the big
Yeah.
things what is the data? What kind of data can you
Right.
find for us? So this is a website where you guys have it kind of broken up into little segments of
Yep.
lists.
Yep, exactly. So this is one of our online platforms. This is not a you'd call it, it's a web application. So it actually lets clients have direct access. So I saw a few of the different examples that were listed there.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, just kind of going back, supplements was one of them. So we have 19 different databases from some of the major compilers. So oftentimes, a lot of times, the question is who has the best data? My background, I've been in the industry for over 23 years. And one of the problems I wanted to solve when I started First Direct was I want to give clients access to the good, reliable data, take out the mystification of it all, and bring all of those into one nice platform that they could access directly. And so back in 2015, we finally were able to bring that all together and into one nice, robust platform. This platform moves over 4 billion rows of data. The engine behind it, over 4 billion rows of data per month.
Wow.
So you can't break it, no matter what type of list you're looking for. So you can see probably some familiar names. If people have been buying lists for a while, some familiar names might be Data Axle. They formerly were Info Group, or if you've been doing it for a long time, they were American Business Information. So we have both their consumer and their business file. And then we have all of Dun & Bradstreet's properties. We have a file that we build, an automotive file for someone said roadside assistance.
Yeah.
Hey, that would be probably an excellent one. You know what type of vehicles. If that matters on the roadside assistance. But then there's also hotlines. So, new movers, new borrowers, pre-movers. These are all things a given business might cover a few areas. They might need to cover all the new borrowers versus also homeowners. So, for example, you and I spoke as we were talking before this. We have a client that is in the home improvement space, and they come to us for a lot of our real property data. And they said, no, that's the only one we want. That's the only information we want. It works really, really well. Works fantastic. We love it. And what we did is we encouraged them to actually kind of think a little different, right? Think bigger. They're selling home improvement products. Go after new borrowers. And they were hesitant to do so because they believed that the new borrowers already had everything locked down.
Like the house was ready to go.
Already made all their decisions. Well, or already made all their plans, right? That they weren't going to add anything new to it. And so one of the interesting stats, and this was from an email that I got from them, I'm trying to make sure I can show that there.
Oh, here, let me take down this or show that again. And
there you go.
Hold on, let me make this one big. There we go. Yeah, so they're showing some stats.
So one of the things they reported back to me, they were really, really excited. And so what they saw here was a 31% higher conversion rate from new borrower data in this segment for home improvements. And they saw a 35% larger revenue per mailer because of using new borrower data. And the premise here really kind of goes back to a sales mantra of like no one spends their last money. Simple as that. No one spends their last money. They're already, $100,000, $200,000, maybe $500,000 into a home improvement project. Guess what? They can probably spend another $25,000.
True.
And so, that's the reality. And so sometimes when you have the right data, when you can narrow in on that audience, that would be, that's where that lifts your response, that lifts your return on your investment there. So that particular test, it was a side-by-side test against the normal stuff we mailed for them and the new data that we recommended for them. And it just hands down outperformed the other.
That's crazy. That's amazing. So it obviously you were asking them to, hey, look at this new data. That's one of the benefits of working with someone who can help you with the list. You intimately know all of the lists that you have access to and might see opportunities like this one. Have you looked at this? Is this maybe if we go from this direction? Plus you can help with the campaigns that are going to go out and make sure that that's relevant to that audience.
Right.
whatever method that might be, mailers or email, or, communications like the phone call list, which is interesting because you
Yeah.
can do a lot of research. Once you know who you're looking for, you can find them like
Yeah.
in a very
Well,
legal way. And that's one of the big things that
exactly.
people ask. So, I mean, obviously I know Joel, so I'm very comfortable with all the data that he has in here, but I mean, you've been doing this so long. I know that trust is a big issue when people are
It
working
is.
with lists. So you're keeping everything new and fresh, and you're also keeping on top of all of the rules and regulations that you have to follow. And so I get Joel's newsletters all the time, and I've been watching his newsletters come through. I read them every time. He didn't even know that. In fact, I like randomly asked him, hey, can you be on my show? But I've seen him. I know what he's doing, and he's really putting in that time and energy to know, hey, this, you can and can't do these types of things. Now, of course, like, there's some things you won't know, but for a wealth of information, he's the one to turn to for lists. And the cool thing on that website that we were looking at, you can actually outline areas that you want. Do you still have that feature where you can outline like a geographic location?
Yeah. Yeah, most certainly. One second here. I'll share, if you want to share that screen here, 1 second.
It's so cool because you can actually take away certain areas, and you're finding data. It's a very dynamic map. So where data used to be just buying a list, this is all different kinds of ways you can search for the types of people you want, and add or subtract people from that list that you're buying.
100%, 100%. So and you mentioned recency, update, how often it's updated. And so that's one of the things, all the databases that we have on our system here, they're updated every 30 days. Some of these are weekly files. If we look at the National Consumer List, for example, it was just updated on the 20th of this month. And so when it goes through that build process, we're removing people that we know are deceased, we know don't want to be mailed to, those types of things, and or there maybe if they're in California and they want to be on the CCPA no mail list, hey, stop advertising to me. We're removing those. Our partners are removing those as well. So our consumer file, our National Consumer List, just one of the two on our system, would be an easy way to demonstrate kind of like what you're talking about. So like the mapping, what Tessa's talking about is we have a pretty cool mapping feature. If you're a business that works very specifically in a general area.
And we do have a couple that are launching. Their app is maybe local. So it's a local listing type thing. So they're going to focus in on a very specific demographic, like say one city or one state. So, or a couple zip codes. This is very relevant for some of our partners that I see over there.
Right. And I'm in Miami today. So I'm out of Omaha, Nebraska. That's where our headquarters are at. So I'm just going to type in Miami here. So the cool thing with this is it makes it really easy to find. And you can do a lot of planning on our system to really kind of figure out, well, what if I did this, how many would I have? And what would it cost? So the nice thing, let's say, for instance, it's a drive time thing. This is a denser city area, so drive time is going to matter. And you're like, hey, nobody's going to travel more than 15 minutes to come to my location. Okay, so you can type in 15 minutes. And you can say, hey, that's location 1. And right away, wherever our pin is, it actually calculates, hey, what's going to be within about 15 minutes of drive time from where that pin's at. Now we could start narrowing this down and say, well, hey, they got to be, I'm just going over to additional selections right here. So we kind of start at the top, geography, additional selections. We say, well, they got to be mothers. They need to be mothers because they buy our product. They're the decision maker on this. So what we can actually do is go through these, and right here, individual levels where we'd want to narrow this in on.
And while you're doing that, Kwame, so what we're looking at is a way to buy the list. So he's narrowing the search, and then it's going to say, here's how many leads are in that area. So you can basically see how big of a list you're going to be buying at that moment, like age group. It's crazy. This is I saw this and I was in love, like how much information you can get in here and narrow it down and then get that final list.
So, and what I'm doing here, and so Daniel was asking too, can we use this website for these searches, or is there there's no fee to get access to do the searches? You simply pay for the data you're going to consume on our system. So So in this particular case, given the nature of like kind of like a city like Miami, you might have multiple households, multiple generations living in a household. And so kind of like just intuition, this is just my experience. I'm going to go in for an inferred household rank that it's got to be either the main decision maker or secondary. So if the lady was married, then she'd show up as a second individual indicator.
Gotcha.
If she was the single, she'd show up as first. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. So first
So
individual or second.
yeah,
Got
we're
it.
not going to overthink it too much there, but then we're going to go into household.
That's
we're going to say,
amazing. You have that at your fingertips.
we're going to say, yeah, exactly. And so we're going to say, hey, maybe, so I have a good friend here. She's got children doing ice skating. So we can say, hey, maybe they're teaching ice skating lessons. And frankly, anybody over 10, they're just not going to probably do it. So we're going to go from 3 to 10. That way the child has a little bit of legs underneath them, right? And we can say, okay, hey, how many do we have? Now, we haven't narrowed it down by any other financial criteria, maybe because this might be a little bit more expensive, a little bit more affluent. But just in that, we have 8.9 million. You know what we did, though? We didn't save our geography point. That's why.
So you have to hit
So we'll go
save
back.
before you leave the tab. You have to hit save. Save search.
So
okay. I was gonna say that's a lot of people right in that
area. I know, right? You're like, no way.
Oh, I had no idea it was that dense.
Yeah,
and guys,
exactly.
I know Joel's he has so much information. He has to run today. We're going to keep finishing this illustration out for you, but I'm going to have him on as a guest again. If you have questions about list buying, put it in the chat on this show right now. And when we have him back on, we're going to answer all of your questions too.
Yeah, I'd be happy to too. So there we go, 24,000. Okay. And that's before we start narrowing it down. And what this represents one name and address. One name and address per household. You'd get name, address, city, state, zip, everything that you need to do like a direct mail campaign. You could also narrow this down to say, do they have a phone number? And what people can use this for, this is where getting the right information can go a multitude of layers, Tessa, as well. So if they're doing things like Facebook marketing, they could use this as a custom audience upload. Yes. And so then you're using the names and addresses to narrow down on the Facebook, right? And being very targeted, because I always equate it to like, Facebook, if you just hand them your wallet, that's like handing some stranger on the side of the street your wallet without telling Facebook what to do with the money. Okay, so you got to tell Facebook what to do with that money, or else they'll just go have some fun with it. Right. Simple as that.
That's true. This is a target audience
and so,
you can pull in.
Yeah. So you would take this, and yes, Facebook can target mothers and things like that. However, if you're planning on doing direct mail with this, target the same people that you're going to be touching with a second channel. Absolutely. Your response rates are going to boost. Stay focused, stay really laser focused, and you're going to see a lot higher results from that effort.
I love it. Well, great information today. Thank you so much. But like I said, we're going to have him on again, talking about more of those things that we need to keep in mind. So thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and let you drop off because I know you got to get off and going. Thank you. All right, guys. So I hope that was helpful. Like I said, if you have questions about building your list, I know this is it's a big topic. Building your list is not something that you can just take lightly. The question about email, there are lists that you can buy emails for. Different lists give you different data, but keep in mind on the email stuff, and Joel didn't actually get to say this, but MailChimp and those kinds of programs don't actually let you upload third-party lists. So in some cases, you're going to use some other tactics to get the people. I wish it were just a magic, like wave the magic wand and you have all the leads and all of the information that's relevant to them. Sometimes you have to do the elbow grease, the manual effort to get these leads. And that might be, finding the people over on another channel. So you can cross-reference data that you get in a list. And like we said, bring it in as a target audience list, or bring it in as maybe even connect with people on LinkedIn from this list. If you're a B2B, you might be able to find the people that are on your list over on LinkedIn and do the connection over there. So you're actually getting to them that way. There are some tools, and we have to be ethical and make sure that we're not scraping information. So I'm very careful when I say that you guys can use tools to find emails of people when you know their addresses. There's also systems that can look at the traffic that's coming to your website. And if you're doing, it can actually pull the data and figure out who is visiting your website, even if they don't fill in the forms. So crazy what you can do. But guys, if you have any questions, put it in the chat and we'll get those questions answered for you. My biggest ones, are trust, knowing that the lists are current. I know that that's what they're doing and pulling in these recent lists. The other thing that is really, really relevant to me is having the people that can help you to pick these lists. Because even if you went to the website, and I love the website and pulling the data, maybe you want to get somebody's opinion on what data you should be requesting. So definitely check out. Oh, we didn't get to show the website, but I will put in the link for Joel so you can connect with him on his personal brand page. I think it's joelbuhr.com. And then the one that we looked at was National List Services, but the company is First Direct Marketing. And I'll put that in the chat. All these will be in the chat for you guys. So I see you guys over there. I'm glad that we had a chance to cover this topic. So thank you, Michael P. Ryan. I'm glad you made it. Stephanie, Yeti to work. So excited to see you. I know we have Mary, Donna, Hector, Eric, Cassiano. I always try to say that. Oh, work from home list. So there are work from home. There are self-employed lists and things like that you can get. Work from home is probably a really nice list now because almost everyone's doing that. But thank you, Eric, for showing up, and Sean Reed, Vanessa, Kelly. I'm so glad you guys are all here. I saw you, Odin, over there, and of course, Kwame, Daniel. If you guys are interested in how to actually build out your list and you need more information, then hashtag build my list and we will get you more information about it. I just want to see who needs this and who wants us to go into more detail. Hi, Jared. Good to see you. So guys, make sure you hit the bell, the reminder bell, and that way you'll get notifications, or you can get text notifications by filling in the form in our post. That way we can let you know when we go live. So we'll see you all next week, Fridays at noon Pacific time. Thank you guys. Bye.